Hi, this is Benno. This is Little Creeper Baits. Welcome to our abode. This is where we keep all our stock, and this is where we pull. Those are our molds that need to be pulled right now, and where we eyeball and package and everything. And in here is where we actually make them. Come on in and check it out. We got Charlie Weyer, one of our pro staff, coming here pretty quick. Here he is now.
Hey,
How you doing, Charlie? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. What do you have new out here today?
Oh, we got all kinds of new stuff, man. This is our biggest point of pride at the moment. We're working on finishing the 8-inch trash fish. We just dialed in the action the other day, and it swims like a dream right now.
Because this is the 5.5 to 6-inch one we had last year. Now you got the new one.
Exactly. It's our original, and this is a brand new one. We're still working on it. We got it swimming right, but we've got to work on the hook pockets and the weighting and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I was just in the tackle store, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and somebody was talking about this.
Yeah,
I know you told me there was something new. It's like, you're going to be excited about this, and,
yeah.
and I'm looking at it. It's like, this is a big fish bait. This is a monster fish bait. This is really going to catch some big ones.
Everybody's been asking me if I want to put weights in it or how I'm going to rig it, and what I'm trying to get to with some of this is maybe separating the weight from the line. And I'm not going to put weights in it, or I'm not going to put a jig head in it. But what I would like to do is get it so it's ready to be either line through, or like the original trash fish, it's going to have a hook pocket. And I'd like to get it to the point where you can use it with like an 11-aught or a 10-aught hook and use it really weedless as well. And I also like to make it so it's really easy to line through for people too, and they can just bring whatever weight they have in their box and stick it in a little pocket. Maybe it's inside somewhere. I still have to dial that in.
I know on the little one I was throwing an 8-aught hook, and I just started throwing a 10-aught hook.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it looks like
it's a big hook for that bait.
It has a big bite, and you catch a lot of fish on it. And with this, it looks like you could probably use a 10-aught, and maybe even put a treble back here for short strike fish, and when they inhale it, they'll get caught in the top of the mouth.
Yep.
I know there's some other secret stuff you gave me I was messing with the last few months. But man, this is really cool looking. I can't wait to go on the lake to throw this, dude.
I can't wait to get out there and toss it around myself.
This is very innovative. I mean, this is going to catch a lot of people's eyes, and it's the colors are great. Look at the fins and everything. It looks like a fish. It looks like a hitch.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working on the sculpture. I do every prototype. I hand sculpt them, and I spent a lot of time working on the original sculptures and trying to get them to look exactly how I want. This is actually the third version we did this year on this bait, and the first two I just went, they're not right, but I really like the profile of this. It came out really good.
I know last year when I was fishing the FLW here, I was seeing hundreds of thousands of hitch.
Yeah.
And they were a little bit bigger than this. They were this size.
Yeah.
And I was trying to match everything, and they were eating this really good, but man, I bet this is going to smoke. I've heard it's been smoked.
Yeah.
It's
there's something about a big bait that just gets a different response from that different class of fish. And you can catch some of those fish on this bait on a regular basis, but your general 4 to 7 pounds are going to hit this, but the bigger 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounders, that's what they prefer. That's what they eat.
I remember last year I came over here and I bought a couple and didn't really understand the whole philosophy about fishing this bait. And I was throwing it out and I was reeling it too fast. With the trash fish, you want to throw it out there, let it hit the bottom, and almost like some guys are working it like a jig, real slow, and then like I was just barely turning the reel handle, and I was reeling it too fast, and I'm like, I can't get bit on it. And Benno said, you need to slow down, and you sit there and you just reel super, super slow. You're just barely crawling it. You know, on a 7 to 1, you're doing like 1 to 1.
Yeah, 7 to 1. I have a hard time fishing on a 7 to 1 because it makes me fish it too fast.
Yeah. I like to fish fast, and I had to, on a 7 to 1, I barely had to turn it, and it's just sitting there doing this. The fins are kicking, the tail's kicking, all of a sudden just thud. It's pretty cool.
I love hearing that.
Pretty cool.
I've heard some crazy stories from some people who've picked it up and thrown it once and just railed them. And that's just it's great because we do a lot to try to make them pretty, of course, and make them look good, but the main thing is that they act right. Yeah. Fish don't care how good it looks. If it doesn't swim right, they don't care at all. You were saying about swimming it slow. You're going to like it. We did some improvements on the bait this year that I don't think you've had a chance to fish yet. This is the brand new version of the trash fish that we're coming out with right now. They're all in store shelves. We've been producing it for the last 2 months, and it's the new version for 2012. What we did was we put a spot under the chin for accepting screw eyes, so there's no more messing with the old detail line that's there. The little pocket actually takes up the eye, so that in profile, the line just comes out right underneath the chin, and it's a really nice, solid hookup or screw-in rigging with the new bait. We also made the hook pocket a little bit bigger, a little deeper, so it's a little more smashable. So hopefully the hookup ratios will go up a tiny bit more. And we also made the fins a little bit more floppy. They're a little thicker so they don't stick to the sides as much. We thin the base and thicken the tips a little bit, so they're just a lot more responsive. So when you're cranking it along, they fold back just like the old one. And when you slow it down, they kind of come down real slow like a real fish would. But when you stop it, they just spring right down. So the new fins are real responsive. And then the thing that you're really going to like is that it swims at about half the speed it did last year. Awesome. And there used to be the tip of taking this top tail portion off to make it swim good in cold water and really slow. No more need to do that. In fact, now we can't even see a real perceivable difference when we do that. But it swims at about half the speed it did before. A little more action, a little more aggressive action in the higher speed ranges, kind of a little more wiggle wobble, but mainly in the medium to higher speeds. When you get down to that slow speed that you really want to fish, a lot of guys like to fish it at, it's the same old trash fish action, just swims at about half the speed it used to. So we're just dialing it in every day.
And I know Benno's coming out with all kinds of other little trick baits too.
Yeah, we got a few things in the works right now.
This is the one. I mean, you got the big one and a little one, and they're.
And then our baby 4-inch version, which a lot of people have started using to great effect. In fact, it's funny up here is it seems like one day they're hitting the bigger one, the next day they're hitting the smaller one. This year I've had 4 people who've caught bags over 30 pounds on big and small baits. So they catch them either way, whatever they're cueing on. But we do have a few new things like you were talking about. We're actually working on not just this guy here. We're working on we have a new bait we're going to come out with called the Garbage Minnow. And it's a little simpler version. It's going to be a little lower priced version. It swims really, really good. Has a great action to it. We're going to basically just use some of our other plastics so we can use the plastic that we've already used once that looks fine. In fact, this is made out of it right here. It looks fine but by itself, but when you put it next to our trash fish, we try to keep them a little cleaner, a little nicer, and this will allow us to save a little money.
Save the consumer a little money.
Definitely save people a little money. We can't make our baits inexpensive. Unfortunately, what we do is really hard to do. And the profit margin, even though the baits are $16 retail for 2 of the big ones, our profit margin is really tiny for the effort we put into it. And we're getting better at production, so it's going up a little bit. Our kind of internal motto around here is we can't make them cheap, but we can make them worth every penny, and that's what we really try to do. But I did want to put out a bait that had good action, was a little different profile, maybe even possibly for the Alabama rig. Actually, we made this a week before the Alabama rig hit. And then the Alabama rig came out like, boom, that next week, Elias won that tournament. And we already had this minnow sitting, and we went, that would be perfect on the Alabama rig. And now that you got to use 5 at a time, gets a little expensive when you're using regular trash fish. We're hoping these can retail for round 2 for about $9.99. We're also working on this little guy here. We don't have a name for him yet. He's kind of designed for an Alabama rig type of application. In fact, we did him last week. Is when we made him. We're still testing it. We got the tail action unbelievable right now. It swims just like a little jumbo minnow. We put it in the water and lost our minds the other day. We had all our tongues hanging out going, oh my God, it looks exactly like a little escapee jumbo minnow. And we're real excited. We're hoping we can get these out for around a 5-pack for around our $16 retail, something like that. We're going to try. We're doing what we can to try to make them a little more affordable. But those 2 baits we're fast tracking that.
Want to show the secret?
You can show the bluegill, sure. Or no, this guy right here. I'm sorry, you don't have the bluegill. This is a bait we were just playing around with the other day. This is a fat trash fish.
By total accident.
Total accident, and it is really crazy looking in the water, and it has a totally different. It's basically a trash fish, just about twice the thickness. And I've just got to work on some pocketing and things like that because I'd like this one to be line through have line through capabilities, and still set up like it normally does too with all the other hooks. But the action of this thing is kind of ridiculous. It's got that big chesty strut, and it kind of looks like the old floaty swim baits, but with the trash fish tail action.
The other ones
Well, we're going to try to make it a little more than the regular trash fish too. Like I said, this one's going to probably have some pocketing that has line through capabilities, and you can hopefully put weights inside of it instead of having to carry all the weights, through weights and things like that. But again, just stuff on the deck. We're trying to get it happening. Still working on the old bluegill too. Yeah, this is our little bluegill, and we actually dialed the action in last summer. But we had some earlier versions we were fishing last spring, and it mauled them. to ridiculous levels. In fact, bedfish lasted, I don't think a bedfish lasted more than about 30 seconds with this thing. No, and we've got some really good fishermen around the country who've been fishing that a little bit, and it's had some impressive results. But like I say, it's not quite done yet. It's going to be a little different looking. The main thing I'm proudest of is you know, what we try to do here is make them look good, but not just look good. We want them to swim the way they should, to act like the fish at hand. So like the trash fish swims like a hitch, and the junk fish and that kind of thing. But the bluegill's got that little bluegill strutty, shimmery flicker, and we're really excited when that thing, you know, when we can release that thing. It's going to be an awesome bait. But it takes a while. With, you know, we're a tiny little company, and we're trying to make it go a day at a time, and we're very, very busy, and trying to find time to get new stuff out is difficult. But we're getting there.
I see all this stuff. You got boots on the walls, you got molds, you have pots pouring. How did you ever get into pouring baits?
Well,
I've
been pouring baits and making baits since about 25 years ago. Is when I started. A long time ago. Just a lot of creatures and that kind of thing. I'm kind of one of those people that when I see something, I have a hard time not messing with it, or I say that's really cool if it was a little more like this. Or I've always been as a fisherman, I've always been the kind of guy who, you know, I need this for this application kind of thing. And for me, it all started with a tournament one day where I had a certain thing going on, and I couldn't find a bait to fit it, but I knew what I needed. And I went home and made one. Finally, that's the very first thing I ever poured. Went back out when that condition came around again and absolutely slaughtered fish. And the friend I was fishing with, he was trying to flip with a jig, and I just destroyed like 75 fish, and he got 3 bites all day. And I realized right then that you can invent a better mousetrap. Sometimes what's in your head's better than what's available. And it just got me started, and then I got the sickness for it, and I've been doing it ever since. So I've been doing about 25 years now, but I've done a lot of other jobs. And with Little Creeper, I finally just got to the point where, you know, in life where I just said, look, you know, we live in an area here where the economy's a little tough, and I've tried all the other stuff that I really want to try, real estate and sales and everything else, and I could go do that again, but I'd rather do something I love and have a passion for that makes me not want to sleep at night and get up in the morning really early, and, you know, this is it. This is what I do. And I'm a sculptor, so it's always been really nice for me to be able to, you know, if it's in my head, I can make it out of clay, and then I can, you know, make a mold of it, and that's kind of how I got started and what got me into it. But the thing that intrigues me the most, though, is not just making a bait look good, it's making it act right. You know, there's a lot of pretty baits that are on the market. In fact, when we first started coming out with the trash fish, one of the things I was afraid of the most is the mental reaction that, like, I would have if I saw it out there, which is, that's really pretty, but I've been burned a million times by stuff that looked really, really pretty. And it almost seemed like the more realistic it was, the less it caught fish for some strange reason. Yeah, it's a bit of a process for us, though. I mean, it seems like we have it down, but hydrodynamics is difficult, and trying to get something to act exactly the way you need it to is tricky business. And I'm persistent. You know, I've got a idea in my head of what I want a bait to do. You know, the original trash fish is a really great example. The second version I did swam really great. But it didn't meet all the criteria I had set out. It didn't swim slow enough. It didn't swim aggressive enough in a certain way. It was too aggressive. I ended up doing 27 different versions over the course of a month and a half until I pretty much got everything on the list checked off. And I didn't even know it was possible. Once you're able to do that once, you go, hey, you don't really have to compromise. So I just try to buckle down in the prototyping process and get everything out of a bait that we imagined in the beginning. And so far it's working. And getting better at it every day. In fact, I actually figured something out last week that I think is going to really get us going. So. Yeah.
I know here pretty soon we're going to go out on a lake and test some of this new stuff, and this stuff looks just, I mean, amazing. I mean, look
Thanks,
at this.
Man.
Look at this stuff. I mean, look at these new baits.
There's a new color too. We're actually doing a few new colors like this. We haven't come up with a name for the series yet, but basically it's taking some of our original colors and keeping the sides a little whiter, a little brighter. It's a really great look. And so far it's been real great in the water too. We've caught a lot of fish doing it. But that's the blueback version right there, like a bright-sided blueback kind of version. And we're going to do the same thing with the shad and then the LC, and then maybe one more. Well, thanks a lot, Charlie, for coming by and checking it out. It's always good to see you. And yeah, thanks again. Really, I appreciate you coming by and helping us test this stuff out and giving me the feedback that you do, because it's nice to get that, you know, from the other side. I don't get to fish enough. And it's nice to get it from someone of your caliber to go out there and pound on them a little bit.